Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Holiday Prep, the Science of Landing Pages. We have a ton of really great content for you today, and we also have two extremely special guests who I will introduce in a moment. We're really excited about today's webinar, and we're very happy to have you here. So before we start, I'm just going to go over a couple of logistical items. First of all, yes, this is being recorded. We will absolutely send you a recording and a copy of the slides after the presentation, so look for that in your email a little bit later today. If you have questions, and I hope you do because we love questions, please type them into the chat box at the lower corner of your screen, and we will get to as many as we possibly can at the end of the webinar. If you have technical issues, just type them in, and one of our handy-dandy ReadyTalk agents will help you out. We would love it if you would tweet about the webinar using the hashtag landingpagescience. We will check out the hashtags later, choose one of you at random, and give you a gift card for ThinkGeek, which is a really super great website full of lots of crazy stuff, for $25. So it's really worth giving it a try to tweet out the webinar. So I am Anna Sawyer. I'm the marketing manager here at Trada. Here at Trada we do PPC, but I am a major landing page groupie. And I don't think I realized what a landing page groupie I was until I met the real stars of the show. Everyone please welcome Gardner and Perreault from Unbounce. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much.
These guys are really the landing page gurus. They have this great company called Unbounce where you can build landing pages incredibly easily. And what we're really going to talk about today is landing page optimization and just the way to get the most out of your landing pages. So first I'm just going to talk a little bit about what are they good for. So Ollie, do you mind taking over and just kind of talking about what do we use landing pages for?
Sure. Generally speaking, any promotional-based marketing, whether that's PPC, email, social media, or your banner ads display. So anytime you're running a marketing promotion, sending it to a landing page is a good rule of thumb.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, and really having a landing page is so important. We're actually going to kick off this next section with a poll. So if you guys don't mind clicking directly onto your screen and taking the poll. So my question is, do you send PPC or email or social traffic to your home page, or do you have somewhere else that you send it? So I'm just going to wait a moment while all the responses come in. And while I do so, I'm going to give you some fun facts about Rick and Ollie from Unbounce. First of all, they are from Vancouver, which is north of where most of you are, I would imagine. Rick and Ollie, any other fascinating facts about you guys?
Well, Rick used to be in a rock band. So,
wow, I think I can tell that from his
name. A lifetime ago.
That's pretty cool. That probably means that you have a lot of street cred. All right, it looks like our responses are coming in. We're going to go ahead and we're going to skip to the results. It looks like, relatively even between yes and no here on do you send PPC, email, social traffic to your homepage. So I think next we'll talk a little bit about the cardinal sin of landing pages. Oh no, we're going to shame part of the audience. Are you guys ready to talk about what this is?
Oh yeah. So half the audience drives traffic to their homepage. Well, that's. I hope they get something out of this because there's a lot of tips here, and a lot of the rationale that we'll talk about today will hopefully convince them not to anymore. Yeah. So I'll give you a quick example. I have a nephew. It's with the holiday season coming up, we did a little bit of research. So my nephew wants a Toy Story Lego. So I did a quick search on Google search, and sure enough, the first thing I see is the official Lego shop. And I click on that ad, and guess what I see? I see the Lego homepage. But I don't see anything about Toy Story. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Fail.
See, this is a problem because you wouldn't do this to someone if they walked into your store, right? I mean, I know that people use this analogy a lot, but thinking about your landing page like your store, you've been advertising it on a billboard and then people come in and they don't know where they can check out, they don't know where the product they're looking for is. I think it's still a good analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
So it's funny because I also made this discovery on my own while I was looking for Toy Story Lego, but I don't have a nephew.
Rick might not either. This could be a completely manufactured script.
Oh, that's his cover story. I just love Lego. So let's talk about how we can avoid that epic fail.
Okay, well, the first thing is using a targeted landing page that you point your pay-per-click ads to, so that when I do search for something a little bit more specific than Lego, in this case it was Lego Toy Story, I'd be pointing my advertising to a landing page that's specifically targeted, that is the Toy Story brand, that is the Toy Story products, and nothing else.
Yeah.
And then there, I would have been, okay, I'm at the right place. This is what I'm looking for. Now I'll move on and take the next steps.
And the thing that we're really concerned about here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you arrive at the right place, it confirms you made a good click. It makes people feel good. Puts them in the shopping mood.
That's a very good point. Well, and the thing that we all really care about here, especially during the holiday season, is conversions. We care about sales, right? So, if I'm clicking around looking for Legos and I get sent to the homepage, then there are several clicks between me and those Legos. I'm just so much more likely to buy if I'm sent to the place that I actually care about. So let's actually talk a little bit about this case study. Rick, you guys sent this over to us. Do you mind talking a little bit about what this is?
Sure.
Ollie can answer this.
Yeah, Campaign Monitor, this is a beautiful homepage, which probably converts really well by itself, but they wanted to increase their conversions, so they hand it off to the designer to create a focused landing page. The difference in these two, one of them has 41 interaction points, this one has 1. So it just focuses people's attention on what they have to do.
This is a really well-documented example of how, really focusing a visitor to exactly, one call to action, clear messaging, 129% conversion lift. That's pretty impressive.
I'm going back and forth so you can look at the differences here. When you say interaction point, are you talking about there's only one thing they can do?
Exactly, yeah. And there's the Get Started for free. That's the only thing you can click on. There's no other links. On the homepage, there's navigation. There's links for all the features. There's a special offer in the middle. There's all the footer links. You can wander off into so many different paths that aren't the intended one.
And that's
right.
Generally the real challenge with any existing website. I was going to say that's generally the challenge with any existing website. Whether it's your homepage or a product page within your website, is that there's just so much to click, so much that can distract a visitor. And when you're paying for advertising, it's expensive. You really want to maximize each of those clicks and make sure you're giving a really highly targeted landing experience.
Right. You don't want that person who clicked to get distracted and go off to somewhere else on your site. Your site's probably pretty great, so they could get distracted. So I think this is a really great point. Well, without further ado, let's get to the 5 scientific landing page tips for increasing holiday conversions. Dun, da, da, da. All right. The first one is the message match. So we have a few examples here, and we're going to go, I think, from bad to good. Am I correct?
That is correct. So, I know, holiday season, another thing that a lot of people like to do over the holidays is travel. So, sorry, this is not travel. This is
buying an iPad.
Oh, buying an iPad. Yeah. So, iPads are hot. So, I did a search for buy iPad, and I saw a sale, iPad for sale. An ad, the iPad for sale, and that was the first ad I saw, and that's what I arrived at.
This is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. This is someone that's really cheap, trying to make a little bit of money from AdSense ads on their own page. So they've paid for this PPC ad here. People are arriving, and now they're sending them to someone else's site. That's just a terrible thing to do. This is a massive fail, this whole area. So
that's a bummer.
Button, please.
That's an expensive bummer. All right, are we ready for the next example? Let's move on.
Yes. So this one, the next ad was 64 gigabyte 3G iPad, 85% off. Okay, I clicked the ad, and I arrived at this landing experience. Now, Ollie and I disagreed and agreed on some things here, but there were some things about this page that actually were quite good. There was a strong message match. As soon as I arrived, I saw the, hey, buy a brand new, 64 gigabyte iPad too. Okay, that's great. So the message match but then that's about it, because after that, it gets really confusing.
Yeah, I mean, look what's happening on the page. Facebook is just jumping out at you. That's got nothing to do with what you're trying to do here, so that's just getting in the way. And then this giant red button says sold for $13.21. That's past tense language. It sounds like it's already been sold. You're like, oh, I got here too late. I should just leave now. And then I mean, the smiley face is good, but this button, just terrible.
I love this.
This is so much to do here. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. This is one that we perceive to be a winner. Am I correct?
This is the winner. So I should have clicked this link first. However, this was the third link I clicked, and there you have it. It's the Apple Store. Really clean design. Clear product shot. Very clear headline of iPad 2. And then what's really nice is the call to action. Select an iPad. Buy online now. Select an iPad. So for me, this was definitely the winner. I mean, there's some things that I wouldn't necessarily do on a landing page. Links, for example, to iPod, iPhone, other links. But as far as an e-commerce landing experience goes, this was a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and am I correct that it's actually unusual for an e-commerce company to drive to a landing page with no external links, or is just because of the way their sites are set up, or would you say that's more common?
It's more common to drive into that kind of deep linked page, which is usually set up for SEO or just internal navigation. If people have the time, they're really smart, you'll have a standalone page for the product. That can be difficult if you have lots of products, but if you're running a promotion at a certain time of year, that's when you really should be driving to the standalone type of landing page.
Yeah, I guess I'd say I don't know a stat on what percentage, but I've seen both quite consistently.
Yeah, I think I have as well. All right, let's go to vacations.
Yeah. So another thing we like to do in the holiday season is to travel, get away from the cold, go someplace warm. So I like to go to Mexico, so I did a search, cheap flights to Cancun. And that was one of the ads I saw from WestJet. WestJet in Canada is kind of like it's Canada's JetBlue. So good brand recognition. I click on the ad, and I arrive to their website, and the first thing I see is explore your own backyard. We're connected to Cancun. That place looks cold. That's not where I want to go. There's nothing about Cancun here. I want to go to Mexico. I want someplace warm.
Yeah, so that's terrible. I mean, it's such a bold image. I mean, it's Lake Louise. It's beautiful. You want to go there, but not if you're trying to go to a beach.
Not in January.
No, it's minus 30.
All right, so we decided this is not a super great one. Let's go to the next one. Oh, this one is
so the next
voted to be totally lame.
Yeah, well, it says cheap flight to Cancun, flightcenter.ca. I said, awesome. Okay, that's maybe what I'm looking for. So this is where I arrive.
A form. And it looks like a support site. It's got the smiley face with the call center.
Yeah, I feel like they should show a picture of beautiful Cancun and then have a giant button that says "Go to Cancun."
Yeah.
Something seductive, like the Corona ads. That's what I want to say. Corona ad when I come here. So yeah, that's a back button as well.
All right, I think we have a good one coming up.
Okay, so Cancun flights from $39. So I thought, okay, I clicked that ad, and wow, guess what I see? Cancun. I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
Not only that, in the form, this is really clever. In the form, it already had Cancun as the destination. So all I had to do is enter where I was leaving from and what dates I want to go. So that was, at that point, I'm willing to take that next step because I know, I've arrived at the right place.
Yeah. So good messaging match. That's the important lesson there.
This is great. This makes me want to go on vacation. So before we have our next poll, do you guys have any final thoughts to wrap up this section of, message matching?
Well, it's really important for your quality score as well. If your headlines and the text on your page don't match that of your ad, you're going to get a crappy quality score, and that makes your costs go up. And I'm sure Anna can talk more about that. But it's just really, really bad, and that's why a specific landing page is better often than, especially your homepage or a product page, because there's not messaging from everywhere competing for your quality score, right? You just got that single focused kind of copy experience.
That's true. So when in order to keep your quality scores up, you want to make sure that you have, a keyword that's in a very tight ad group that drives to an ad that has words that are relevant to the keyword, and then you want to make sure that you drive that to a landing page that is also relevant. And this is something that not a lot of people know, but on Google, driving to a landing page that's not relevant can drive your quality score down, which can make your clicks more expensive. But if you're advertising on Yahoo Bing, which we absolutely suggest that you should, their quality score works differently. They rate landing pages in a binary method. They basically say good or bad. And if your landing page is bad, they won't allow, if your quality score is too low, your Bing Yahoo quality score is too low, which can be affected by that binary landing page factor, your ads simply won't run. So it's like more aggressive, so you'll have ads that just won't run. So
yeah.
There's my son talking too.
Yep.
All right, let's go to our poll. We have a poll. Do you A/B test your landing pages? So everyone, if you could please just click directly onto your screen so that we can speak to you, to your responses. I'm going to give you just a couple moments to see these come in, and boy, they're zooming in. And again, it is incredibly equal. Look at this. I'm going to give you just a couple more seconds. And you can probably imagine what our next section is going to be about. All right. One more second. Get your answers in. Let's go to the next slide. Number 2, always be testing. So we're going to talk about a few tips for how to always be testing. But this is something that's true in sort of any marketing channel. You should always be testing and learning from your data. Guys, can you comment on this?
Yeah, well, especially this one. So start early to get feedback early. I mean, testing is all about getting feedback so you can optimize your page for the best performing one. If you're going to have a big push for holiday season, start testing as soon as you can, because you want to get those results in before you do your big marketing push, so that most of your marketing is driven towards a more successful page than what you originally started with.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It just, the more data you have, the better you're going to do, correct?
Yeah.
And so then run a 5-second test. What's this all about?
Basically, when you're running a test, you want to develop a hypothesis, right? Which is an idea based on some inputs like feedback as to how you're going to design a new version of your page to test against your existing one. So one of the methods of getting some feedback is a 5-second test. You can do this on a screen or just a printout. So you take your landing page, show it to someone for 5 seconds, hide it, and say, what was it about? If they can't recite what your landing page is about, then your messaging is too complicated, and you need to refine it until it's so simple that they can, in 5 seconds, they can get it, right? Because people are so impatient. If they don't get it in 5 seconds, they're probably going to hit the back button. So you've got to train yourself to write simple messaging that's easy to understand.
This is great. I think this is such an excellent test, especially because it's very visceral. You can get your friends involved. So, another thing that you can do to sort of, to see if people are understanding your page is to check your bounce rate.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Because that indicates that people are like, I don't want to be here, and they click away. So, yeah, I think this is really a great one. And I think the key message here is show it to your friend, because you built this page, you've put your heart and soul into it, you can no longer even see what it's about. It's like when you look at a word and you can't understand how it could possibly be spelled that way anymore. So, get someone else involved. Some might say this is crowdsourcing.
Yeah, go out on the street and do it with a complete stranger if you've got the balls to do that. Because they don't know anything about your brand. So.
Yeah, well, and that's advertising. Every time you show that to someone, it's an impression.
Yep.
All right, I'm getting a little silly. All right, let's move on. I loved it that you said hypothesis, by the way, because this is a science webinar. Anyway, next up we have test the offer, which has the most psychological triggers. How do you test this, and what does this mean?
Well, this is kind of, I'm going to add notes here.
You had to make notes, there's a lot of slides.
Yeah. Basically, you want to test your offer messaging because there's different ways of saying the same thing. So think of a fashion example, buying shoes or something. 2 for 1 could be really compelling because you're like, well, this fashion trend is going to end in 3 months, and I really like these shoes, so I want 2 pairs now, so 2 for 1 is great. 50% off is essentially the same thing, but all you're getting is cheap shoes. So it's just different things will trigger different psychological buying mechanisms in different people, so you have to find out which message works best for your customers.
And you know that I always love to talk about PPC, but paid search is an excellent way to test messages because you get a ton of data back about specific messages. So writing your ads with these calls to action in them, testing them in PPC, and then testing them on your landing page and making sure that the messages match is a great way to find the strongest possible psychological trigger. Although you should not find the one you like the most and stick with it. You should always be testing.
Actually, in fact, I just talked to a customer the other day that was doing exactly that, put up 5 landing pages to test a messaging before they launched a campaign.
Awesome. Yeah, great. Always using your data across channels. That's something we really believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start moving a little more quickly because we want to get through all the content and then get to everyone's questions. So next up, testing tips. Can you comment on this, guys?
Yes. This is, just quickly, this is dead simple. Add some widgets to your page for live chat or survey. So right at the point of conversion, so when they're going to hit that click button, you want to be talking to your customers to find out what's wrong with the page, why they're kind of sitting on the fence. Then you can roll that stuff into your A/B test, into your new page. Customers are the best source of information. Don't just kind of make things up like, oh, let's do a red button versus a green button. Ask for people's opinions. And you can do that using little widgets. So like OARC or KISS Insights, they're these little pop-up widgets at the bottom of your screen. They really help.
Awesome. So you guys actually have a really great diagram here that we can look at where you talk about how you can learn from conversion optimization. Yeah,
so here's people coming in from your PPC traffic, right, into your landing page. If you then, using these widgets, you start asking questions, you then create a new page based on what you've learned, and then use the winner as your new champion page. So basically, you've optimized your page, and you're just going to get much more from your ad spend as your campaign continues. And you just continuously repeat this process.
Awesome. So, guys, we're about to go to our next one. Number 3, create a sense of urgency. Now, this is, again, something that, we should be using across all of our marketing. And I know it seems a little sneaky, but just, giving, whether it's an illusion or alerting people to the fact that there is a sense of urgency is an excellent way to get people to buy. We all have this, ingrained attribute inside of us that says, wait, limited time only, I better call now. We really do. So I love this page. I love it that you guys sent me the screenshot. This is incredibly meta.
Yeah, I was quite pleased with finding this. So Amazon figured this thing out a few years ago, and it's absolute gold. They did it around Christmas promotions, things like that, saying that if you want guaranteed delivery by Christmas Eve or whatever, then you have to order in the next X hours or something. So it really pushes people to buy now, because otherwise, Christmas Day or whatever holiday you're celebrating, you're going to have kids crying if you miss that deadline. So that gets into the mind of parents. So it's a really good way of triggering people to buy something. And you can see here, they're doing it. They've learned from this, obviously, and they're doing this all the time, right? If you want it delivered by Wednesday, September 28th, that date doesn't mean anything. They're just throwing that in all the time to increase sales, and it works.
Yeah, you're totally right. By the way, I think putting a photograph of a crying child and saying, "Do you want your child to look like this? Then you better order now," would be the ultimate sense of urgency. I'm a big fan of deprecation. All right, so next. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there's great examples on YouTube of people that have the big box and the child opens it and there's nothing in it and they start crying and they're just playing a trick on their kids. It's really mean, but it's pretty funny.
Isn't that why we have kids? For fun? I'm just kidding. I don't have kids. All right. So, look, here you guys are creating a sense of urgency. Can you talk about this? Is this a hello bar?
Yes, it is. This is a hello bar. This big thing here is saying hello. Basically, you've got someone on your page. If they're going to buy, they're going to buy. That's fine. But there's always going to be a percentage that are fence sitters. They're not really sure. So a good thing to do is like about 20, 30 seconds into the experience, have the secondary message come in and say, hey, if you order right away, we'll give you, a discount. You don't want to offer that to everybody. But you do want to nudge the fence sitters that are kind of humming and hawing, and you do that with a little bit of delay and just bang this message down from the top of the screen.
That's great. So wait, is this on your site just sometimes? Or how do you trigger it?
You set it up on, you add a little script to your site, and you set it up on hellobar.com.
Oh, right. No, I know how to use hello bar, but I mean, you don't have this on your site all the time is what you're saying.
No. Basically,
because then people would
whenever you have something you want to draw attention to, like we put one up for calling attention to this webinar as an example.
Right.
You can use it for anything like that.
Great. Okay, so let's move on to number 4, trust indicators. So what is a trust indicator?
I went completely silent there. It's little things that just help people believe what you're saying is true. The example I've got here are guarantee badges. They just they add a little something to your page. And why I put 3 of them here is just kind of things you can test with messaging, right? One of them is about best price. One's about money back. So if you're buying shoes online, so Zappos or something, you kind of want that guarantee you can get your money back if it doesn't work out. Best price, that's the kind of thing a lot of electronic stores will use to make sure you buy from them and not someone else. So it's just playing with messaging. And the second thing below there is payment methods. You don't want people going through your process and then getting rejected right at the end because they don't take Amex or something like that. So put them up front so that you're not getting angry people going through your process.
I think that's a good point too, and maybe it will be illustrated better in the next slide, is that you kind of want to show, they can picture themselves using it or they can picture themselves paying, So in this example, I believe this is actually a video. This is a video so that a kid can understand how great his life will be when he has Legos in it.
Exactly, yeah. This is context of use, which is, instead of just having a standard photo that shows a product, show it being used so someone can understand what it means or how it feels to use it. And if a kid sees this, they're going to bug their parents to buy it because it's really cool.
Yeah, and in fact, we'd like some here at Unbounce, so you can send us one courtesy of Unbounce, our address on the website. And actually, I should add also, we actually did find the Toy Story site, but that's not where they were pointing their advertising to. We did find it, and but as you know, what would have been a huge win is had I typed in buy our Lego Toy Story, but the advertising went here.
Yeah, because it really is a compelling section. Yeah.
And that video on the site is really
that video.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I really do love the product videos. And it's not just for kids. Product videos exist across all verticals. I mean, even, in the non-e-commerce space, videos are incredibly good for just showing people things that you can't show them in words. It's really great. So next we have a bit of a personal story. This is the slap chop. This is something that most people buy from television late at night. And the reason that so many slap chops are sold is because there's a video of them doing something amazing. And apparently Rick has one of these. So Rick, can you talk about the emotional roller coaster of your decision to buy this slap chop?
Well, it actually was a little late at night, maybe late on a Friday. However, I had watching the commercial, you know, this guy was using it. It seems so easy to do. I like to play in the kitchen. I'm constantly chopping vegetables, and everything he was chopping was stuff I like to cook with. And I thought, I need one of these. This would make my life so much easier. And in fact, I'll get two. I'll get one for my buddy who likes to do the same thing. So I bought them, and unfortunately, it was a huge disappointment because they don't work like they're shown.
Yeah, they must have had a laser diamond cut blade on the one in the ad there.
It didn't chop anything.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't help it. I actually asked, you know, Ollie asked me to ask the audience if anyone has a slap chop, and some people do.
One thing that's really fun is to have a slap chop party, just to get all your friends together and see who can actually make it work on something.
Yeah, and actually, did you say most people do?
No.
Oh.
Some people do, yes. Well, we're going to invite these, you know, 20 people who have them over to our house and have a party. You're all invited. All right. All right, next step, let's talk about having one heck of a CTA. So what is a CTA? A CTA is a call to action. Most of the time, we associate with the call to action with some sort of button, but it could also be, you know, across other types of marketing. In a PPC ad, it could just be a piece of text. It's the thing that tells the person what to expect, what's happening next, what happens after they click. Is that a good way to describe it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And we're going to focus on oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I can be so interrupty. So we're going to focus on a couple of things here. How to attract people to your call to action, and then how to get people to click on it. So that may seem like it's the same thing, but it's really not. So one is sort of more about design, and one is more about what you write on the button, correct?
Yeah, I mean, think of what it's saying, call to action. The C, that's the call, that's how you get people there, and the A is what they do when they get there. So the word call to action really makes a lot of sense if you break it down.
Great, so first let's talk about conversion-centered design.
Yeah, this is just kind of using design principles to isolate your call to action to make it as obvious as possible to people. One method is white space, or it should be called blank space. You know, doesn't matter what color it is. Basically, just give some breathing room around your button so that it stands out.
Yeah, I mean, we've all done it. We look at a web page and you realize, okay, this is what I want to buy, but how do I do the next thing? You know, so make it really obvious.
Contrast and color. So a really nice way, having a really simple muted landing page so that it's pretty much the color palette is very muted. All the same kind of color everywhere on the page except for your button. So it just leaps out at you so everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do. You can use that with contrast and color.
And now we have eye direction. Go ahead.
This has been scientifically proven, not by me, and I have no stats to back it up. But if you use photos of people or animals on your page, have them looking in the direction of your button. Imagine walking down the street, right, and there's a bunch of people staring in the sky. Maybe there's a jumper. You're gonna copy them and look up in the air. So that's the principle behind why we're kind of psychologically trained to look where other people are looking.
Yes, and this has been tested. And by the way, this is something you could just A/B test if you don't believe this dubious-sounding scientific claim. So next up, encapsulation. What does that mean?
Yeah, so this is kind of using, actually you probably more commonly use a circle or something, using just design to kind of hone in on your button. So think of the example, the classic example would be, I think of the old James Bond films, where there's that kind of big black kind of, I don't know if it's an eye or whatever, but it makes you look inside to where James Bond is, right? So all your attention is focused, kind of like blinkers on a horse. So that's the idea there. Use, boxes or circles to kind of constrain people's eyes to where they should be looking.
And we've got some examples coming up as well that we can clearly show some real-world examples of all this.
Great. So let's talk about the next one here, explicit directional cues. This is one I see a lot on landing pages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in some cultures it's considered rude to point. You got to ignore that. Be brutally honest and just do exactly this. Have arrows pointing. Just lead the way for people. Assume they don't know what they're doing. So, if you have an arrow pointing at your button, it's just going to help people to understand what your intended goal for them is. Especially if you have a form on your page, there's a good chance that it's a long form that your button is hidden, it's below the fold. So if you use an arrow at the top of your form design pointing down, it lets people know that they have to scroll down or go down to complete the desired action.
Excellent. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about what to write on your call to action. So submit. That tends to be the default button, but it really is not the best button because what does that even mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
Except in mixed martial arts. I mean, it's a 90s legacy thing from, every button had submit written on it. And actually, I found something today. If you go to whichtest1.com today, they have a test based entirely on what it says on your button. One of them says submit. The other one says, hold on a second.
Something more compelling.
Informative. That's right. So it actually describes.
Yeah, the other one says go to payment options, basically. So it's submit or go to payment options. And the one with the instructional copy on it, go to payment options, got 87.5% more conversions. So if
and can you repeat the name of the website again? Everyone is asking.
Yeah, whichtest1.com.
Whichtest1. Oh, which test 1 W-O-N. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly that.
Okay. Annie, would you type that in so everyone can know? All right. Awesome. Let's move on to some that you really like.
Yeah, this is an example from SEO Moz, and it's great. It tells you what's going to happen. First of all, you're going to start your free trial, and then it tells you what's going to happen at the end of the free trial, right? It's free for 30 days, and then it's going to cost you this much money. And then they double up by putting some more information below that, some benefits, saying it's the web's most popular SEO software. And then they added some trust or kind of no-risk copy saying you can cancel anytime, no contracts. So the whole thing is designed to make you feel comfortable about moving forward. And
they did a really good job of getting all that information into a little spot. So here again we have trust statements, and it looks like it's a little on the small side, but I think it says same price shipped anywhere in the world. That's
yeah,
the
so
fine
imagine
print.
You're buying exactly. You're buying a gift for someone in London and someone in Tokyo and someone in LA or something. If you have family spread out all over the place, that's a pretty cool that's a pretty cool thing to know that when you go through to buy this, you're not going to get dinged differently. But more importantly, this is a great example of contrasts. This button just really, really stands out from the rest of the area.
Yeah, it does, and it doesn't look like everyone else's site. It looks nice. So here's one more that we like.
Again, sign up for your free trial. So, when I see that button, again, contrast green on white, but when I read the actual content, it's not just submit. It's actually saying what's going to happen next. Again, start sending files within minutes. So this is actually a file sharing site. So I get the idea of once I actually click this, I'm going to start a trial, and I'll be able to get going quickly. And that's important. So it answers a lot of questions I might have just in a single call to action.
It's really great. It is incredibly clear. So those were our 5 tips, but guess what, guys? We have a bonus tip, number 6, post-conversion strategies. Because after all, after you get that, that's not the end, right? So here's time for a poll. Do you have a call to action on your confirmation pages? Now, while you are all answering, I'll talk a little bit about what a confirmation page is. Generally, when you are tracking conversions, you have someone click on that buy button or the act now button or whatever it is on your call to action, and they make a purchase or they sign, complete the form or whatever they're doing, and then you send them to a confirmation page or a thank you page. And this has a couple different purposes. One is that generally when you're tracking conversions, you place your conversion tracking code on that page, although there are different ways to do it. But then also you can use this page for other stuff too. right? Am I on the right track, guys? Let's give them a couple more seconds to get their answers.
Absolutely. I mean,
again.
Absolutely, because you're at that point, you've already gotten them to buy something. Use the opportunity again to buy something else.
Yeah, they're already warmed up, so keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, great. Okay, so let's move on to some of the strategies for how you can get another sale while the lead is warm.
Yeah, just try and get them to buy something again. So give them 50% off their next purchase, which could be right now. So you're getting them to buy something else instead of just saying thank you. Just there's no harm in putting another call to action in there. The worst that can happen is they don't click it, right? But if you don't have something there, there's no chance of them clicking it because they can't click it.
Yeah. Great. So next up, sign up for offers or a newsletter. You want to keep these people on your list. You want to keep them in the loop. You want to let them know when you have new great things to offer, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they've just bought something from you. They're far more likely at that point to actually say, sign up for your newsletter so they can hear more, be informed in the future when you have other products that they might be interested in. Far more effective than just having a newsletter sign up on your homepage somewhere.
Yep. It's contextual.
And finally, social stuff, right? Put your Twitter and your Facebook, and keep people in your circle.
Yeah, I just keep them in your marketing sphere of influence. That's kind of how I like looking at it. It's really painless to follow someone, and then they're not going to see everything you say, but they'll catch some of it. So it's just another way of getting in their ear.
Yeah, and another thing about someone who's just purchased or just signed up is that they already like you, so they're already on your team. So they're more likely to follow you on Twitter to want to hear more from you. So this is a great catch. Guys, this is amazing. We're going to talk just for a couple seconds about some of the webinars that we have upcoming, and then just take a couple moments to talk about Unbounce and Trata, and then we're going to get to all your questions. You guys have some great questions. So I'm going to move through this very, very quickly. Coming soon, what do we have next? Guys, this was part 3 of a 4-part holiday prep series, and we would really love it if you would come to part 4, which is on October 25th. This is, all of the stuff up till now has been about preparation, and October 25th we're going to talk about tactical ways to deal with the flood of business that you're going to get during the holiday season. So if you'd like to be signed up for this webinar series, just chat sign me up. I'm also really excited about this big webinar summit that we're doing for SMB marketers. I know we've alluded to this a little bit in the chat. This is just incredible. We have 7 crowdsourcing companies. 6 of them are on a panel tomorrow to talk about how crowdsourcing can help you as an SMB marketer. This is just so great. Crowdsourcing is one of those things that makes things for an SMB marketer attainable that wouldn't otherwise be attainable for a price you could never get anywhere else. We're going to talk about strategies for dealing with it. It's not a whole bunch of companies pitching their products. It's a whole bunch of companies really just being thought leaders in the space. And then we'll have a second part about crowd and community management. Our third part is about crowdsourcing content and distributing it. We just have such great people on these panels. And then finally, crowdsourcing video, which is something I'm particularly very excited about because video is something that can be very valuable and yet very daunting for SMB marketers, and crowdsourcing just makes it incredibly attainable. So this is going to be great. I want to give you guys a couple seconds to talk about what you do, because we've talked about all this landing page stuff, and it seems like it's a lot of work, but with Unbounce, you can actually build these gorgeous conversion-optimized landing pages. They're often already set up for this, and you actually don't need the help of a designer or a developer. Can you guys talk just briefly about how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. With all the talk of testing, there's a lot of testing tools out there, but one of the pain points that marketers have is they can't get these pages made in the first place if they want to run a unique promotion or set up targeted landing pages for their ad groups or their social or email marketing. So with Unbounce, a marketer can come in, create these pages, either starting with a template that we provide or creating the page from scratch, get these pages published live, and easily run A/B tests without having to rely on web developers or their IT department.
And here we have the hobo designer developer. He doesn't have a job anymore.
Yeah, he just got fired.
Yeah, Unbounce is just a great product. We here at Trata, we do paid search, and we believe, honestly, that if you're running a paid search program and you use something like Unbounce, your campaign will work better. It will be better. Landing pages are often the one big ignored part of a PPC campaign. It can really kind of, hurt you. So we definitely suggest that you guys use that. Brief little pitch of Trata. Here's where we talk a moment to talk to you about how we can do all that PPC stuff for you, and it doesn't cost any more than if you were to do search marketing yourself, which sounds totally crazy, but it's true. We do use the crowdsourcing approach. The way it works is we have a giant crowd of certified paid search experts. They live all around the world, and because multiples of them work on your campaign at the same time, you get this excellent diversity of thinking. So, if you're to sit down and think of all the keywords someone might use to find your product, that's pretty impossible. But if you and 10 of your friends sit down, you will create this incredibly diverse list of keywords. And it's not just that. They have time to constantly optimize. They're humans, so it's not like a bid price calculating robot. These are people who know how to do this. And we run on Google, Yahoo, and Bing, all in the same interface. It's incredibly easy. And best of all, they already know how to do all of this. So if you're stumped about paid search, or if you're not having the best results these days, you want to get better results, paying no more than you're paying right now, go ahead and type "I'd like a demo" into the box and we'll tell you more. It's pay for performance, there are no fees, and you can get started right away. So now what you've all been waiting for, we are going to do some questions. So we've had a lot of really great questions in here, and I'm going to hand most of them off to Rick and Ollie. So let me just pull some of these over. So Hendrik wants to know, how about the people who want more in-depth info instead of clicking only the CTA get started for free? So the methodic web users who want something like read more. So I think what he's trying to ask is, what about a landing page for something that's not conversion-centric? I'm trying to figure out what the question is, and he directed this at Ollie.
Right. Well, there's a growing kind of design movement towards the kind of reverse of what used to happen, of long pages where you may have navigation, but it's all internal page navigation. So, there's a lot of information on the page. And it might be that the top looks like a nice small landing page, but then if you want more information, it'll have a nice smooth scrolling. It'll go down the page to, essentially, you might have a 5-page site all on one page, and there's lots of information there. So everything, the idea is to try and keep people on the page still, but have enough information there to either make the sale or just educate them on what you're trying to get across.
I would also add, I think if what you're seeing is, a lot of customers or, prospects landing on your page and not converting right away, but kind of spending some time, you can test things like, buy now, or another button that says, or learn more. I mean, you can test these things to see what your target customer is actually looking for.
Yeah, and there's a good chance that you might want them to go through your homepage after you've kind of warmed them up because the landing page has a simple messaging, right? It gets through to them so they understand the purpose, and then you can push them through to your homepage where they can go exploring, do anything they want, if that's kind of your goal.
Great, thanks so much, guys. Jonathan has a question. Where is the best place to put your credibility badges? Do you have any suggestions design-wise about where to place those?
Close to your call to action is good because that's the most critical point, right? They're just about to buy, and so at that point you want to hold their hand and go, "It's okay, don't be afraid." So that's generally a good place to put them, and that's why some of those CPA examples that were good, they had some trust copy in the button or right below it, or if you have a lot of them like trust symbols, like I can't think right now, eTrust or like all the kind of like technical trust symbols. You can put a big strip of them along the bottom of your page or test it really. I mean, different things will work in different ways, but generally keep it near your button.
Great. So Jorge has a question, and I actually wondered this at the same time. So you guys talked about collecting customer data by placing some sort of form or survey right at the conversion point. And Jorge says, why would you deviate a lead from a conversion by putting a survey in the way?
Well, it's not necessarily, oh, you mean like a little pop-up survey.
Yeah.
Well, this is just to gain information so you can help optimize your page. I mean, what I like to do, I'm going to use an email marketing example just to make it simple. If you have 10,000 leads, you'd send maybe 10% of them out to your page, which has this survey on there. It comes up after 10, 20 seconds, and you get to ask for some information and learn something. Then you can feed this back into your design, make it better before you send the rest of your list to this page. You're just going to get, better conversion that way.
And I think a really important point that Ollie made too is that these things can be triggered to come up 10, 20 seconds. So someone's sitting on that page, they've read the headline, a few bullet points, and they're still there. Take the opportunity to pop that thing up maybe in 20 seconds to a small portion of your audience and see what you can learn to make them act faster or convert better.
You will also learn that some people hate them. That's just a simple fact of life. But the amount of information you can glean from asking keep this question simple as well. This is not like a 20-question survey. This is like one question usually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's useful to gather data, even if you sometimes have to maybe sabotage your conversion rate a little bit, maybe, and maybe make a couple of people angry. I think, that's worth it for gathering data, but maybe the point to take home here is don't always put a survey right at your conversion point with lots of questions on it for every single visitor.
Maybe. Correct.
Yeah.
And the real reason you're doing this is that so you can actually improve your conversion rate for the majority of the visitors that come to your landing pages.
Yeah, and most of these examples you're talking about, they're kind of bottom corner things. They're not too intrusive. We're not talking about slapping the pop-up right in front of people's faces. That's kind of gnarly. I wouldn't really support that.
Yeah, people aren't generally into that. All right, so next question, and I've actually had this question from a lot of people, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a tough one to answer. A lot of people want to know what sort of range of bounce rate they should be looking for with a landing page.
Oh, that's virtually impossible to.
The lowest possible.
It's really hard. I mean, especially on a standalone landing page, you're probably going to get a pretty high bounce rate. I think there's go to the Kissmetrics blog.kissmetrics.com. On the right-hand side, they have an infographic section. In there's the infographic about bounce rate, and it talks about different factors in bounce rate. That's probably the best place to look at some data.
And actually, I just add, you're going to get some bounce, but what's more important is, are you getting enough conversions to justify the spend? Are you getting the ROI that you're looking for? For some, a 1% conversion actually, depending on the product they're selling, would be awesome. And while others, they need a 20 or a 10 or 20 to justify the ad spend. So it really depends on what you're selling and the kind of business you're in.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many variable points. And one thing about landing pages is that they just do have a high bounce rate, especially when you do things like remove all external navigation. But it can still increase your conversion rate. So that's something to think about. Although remember that bounce rate does affect your quality score. So these are all things that just, you have to consider within a holistic campaign. And a lot of the A/B testing that you do is largely just to improve your bounce rate. So this is an interesting one, and I actually also was wondering, everyone has questions that I have. We were looking at a lot of those call to action buttons that seem to have a lot of text around them and under them. And Stephanie wants to know how many words maximum should be on a CTA button. Is there some sort of rule about don't write too much stuff on your call to action button?
No, I wouldn't say there's a rule, but the important thing is it describes exactly what's going to happen when you click it in as few words as possible. If you have extra information, then that's something you put as a subtext, something a little smaller underneath. But yeah, don't go crazy. Don't have a button that's like 200 pixels high that has 5 lines of giant copy on it.
Because then you don't have clarity.
Yeah. So the important thing is to keep it as clear as possible.
And keep that white space around it, so people know exactly where to look.
Yeah, and also so they spend
go ahead.
time there. No, you're good.
So we're getting really close to the end of the hour, and I want to respect everyone's time. So I'm going to take one more question. If we weren't able to get to your question, please reach out, email us, email dranda@trada.com. Danny, our awesome marketing intern, will make sure that we get you to the right person who can answer your question. So I'm going to take one more, and it is actually about Unbounce. I'm using Unbounce for landing pages. How long should I wait before shutting off the underperforming landing page? So I think what James is asking here is, how long should I allow my A/B test to run until I have enough data to know that a test isn't to know that a page isn't performing as well as another one?
Right. There's a couple of things there. Typically, you want to wait until the confidence percentage is around the 95% range. The speed with which it gets there is going to depend on how much traffic you send. So if you're not sending much, it can take a while. But you want to at least wait 2 weeks. That's a rule of thumb, so that you cover off different days of the week, and you do that a couple of times. If it's taking forever and you're not seeing any change, it's okay to can an experiment and start again. Not every experiment is going to give you useful information. They're not all going to work. You just got to keep trying.
Great, yeah, and I think that is advice that you could use across all of your marketing channels. Never stop testing, never stop learning, never stop understanding your data and using it for stuff. It kind of goes back to the point like, oh, why would I put this form at my conversion point? You will sacrifice maybe some conversions through your tests, but you'll learn so much more about your message and your company, and you'll get more conversions overall. So it's definitely worth all the testing. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Rick and Ollie from Unbounce, everyone, they have been fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. We will be sending out an email later today with a recording of the webinar and a link to the slides that you can download and use for all your purposes forever. We would love to answer more questions. Please go ahead and email us. And if you have any questions, yes, please email us or email Rick and Ollie. I also suggest you follow them on Twitter. You can see their Twitter handles right there on the screen. Great. Thanks so much, guys. I hope I'll see you in tomorrow's webinar, which is about crowdsourcing for SMB marketers. If you are an SMB marketer, man, this webinar is going to help you out so much. So please just let Danny know if you'd like to be signed up for that. Everyone, thanks so much. This is the end of the webinar.